Hello everybody, today is rather unusual as I am reviewing books once again. It's not the fact that I never reviewed books on my channel, it's the fact that I said that I'm not gonna be doing these videos on the regular, and I suppose I'm not doing these videos on the regular, honestly, because it's been quite a while since I made one of these. My camera is not meant for filming in 1080p. I'm pretty sure it's a 1080p camera, but webcams ain't the best for recording people, and sorry for the blurry image, and I thought that if you're gonna be staring at me the whole image, you might appreciate something a bit better in the background than just my green screen that has been significantly damaged by my cats. So, change of corner, aka I slightly turned my table. Now you get the beautiful gray screen, which is my wall, and my altar, because at the very least, visually, it looks semi-interesting. If you write books, especially occult books, or you're writing something very personal, and your book might come off as being fairly loving or having a soul, otherwise, you can risk linking this work to me. I can't guarantee that I will definitely review it, but it is definitely the kind of thing that I seek after. And speaking on seeking after people, I had to seek after the author of the current 3 books that I'm gonna be reviewing today, mostly because she did not advertise herself anywhere. She has no reviews, and this person definitely does not operate under this name on the internet on the regular, making them extremely hard to find. It's as if they did not want to be found, or they wanted to be a surprise for those that actually do find them. And as I did manage to find them through a different work, I've decided that, hey, if I have done all of this work into just finding the individual, why don't I just buy everything that they have ever written and review them in one go? So let's start from Annie. I am not gonna pronounce the last name. I'm just not. O'Donoghue? It's a Lithuanian trying to pronounce God knows what kind of country this last name is from. Anyway, I'm not good with last names. So yeah, I'm gonna start from her most recent work, A Brief History of Red Lady and the Origins of Sekhmet. This actually came off as being very loving, which is a very rare thing to find in an occult work. Normally you get the vibe that the person that was writing the work was just an academic, or that they have something to sell you, or that it's a simply commercial work. This one came off as if the person that was writing this actually cared about the entity that they were writing about. If you need an in-depth look into every mythos about the Sekhmet, this wouldn't be the book for you. If you're looking to perhaps work with this specific entity, this might actually suffice, I would say, as it has a nice intro about her mythos, how she is connected to other entities that may or may not be the same thing. That is up to each person to decide, as a lot of Egyptian entities kind of merged back and forth. And it has a few academic materials in here to support, especially the mythos part of the book. I can't actually verify how well researched this is, for I am not an expert in Egypt. But as somebody that was not an expert of Egypt, this was definitely an interesting read, and it made me understand why a lot of pagans that work with Egyptian gods are so obsessed with trying to merge multiple gods into the same thing. They're just really used to it. They're really used to merging everything that's the same element. Or even if they just require a feat. It's almost like Egyptians invented chaos magic, but they actually gave the entities extra names, honestly. There were a couple of problems. First of all, Amazon covers, nothing that the author can do about this. Really goddamn awful quality. Everything that you're gonna do is gonna leave fingerprints on it. Secondly, I am not entirely sure if this was the fault of Amazon or the author. Potentially Amazon, but if the author looks at page 5, I don't want to quote any of the book out loud, for this is copyrighted material, so I don't want to actually flash it on screen. To give an example, page 5, line up until the quotation point of 2.4 is in nice sharp black. The lines beneath it, very gray, and then in the next page we come back to black again. It can be a printing issue on the Amazon side, in which case there's nothing you can do. Or it could be that when this was submitted, some of it was typed in dark gray instead of black. And it's just very obvious when it's printed. As I only have the paper version, I cannot verify whether or not that is so. There is a couple of complaints that I do have with this book. First of all, I'm pretty sure I can show the table of contents, right? Table of contents, right? Do you see an issue with this? I know that my camera is super blurry, because I can see an issue with this. The table of contents lists the contents of the book without the pages that these contents are on, making the table of contents a tiny bit useless. It's not really an issue, because my own book, I released it without table of contents. You don't really need it, but if I find a table of contents, I normally expect there to be like a page next to each chapter so that I know where to jump to if I just am wanting to reference material. There is a segment on ritual gestures. And this one, personal preference of mine, but I wish that the author did with pictures. For if I read how the gesture is written, I can't actually interpret how to perform it. And I end up being that person that goes instructions unclear, got my head stuck in the blender. Or another person that, you get the parts but not the instructions, and then whether or not you're assembling a battle plane or a washing machine just depends on how you assemble the parts. Yeah, definitely could do with pictures whenever there's movement involved, so that I have a better idea on what this means. There is a couple more question marks that I have, such as the importance of color in ancient Egypt. And there's sentences like, there is also grounds of debate whether the ancient Egyptians could see this color, we're talking about blue, or whether they were mistaking it for green. And the same is said for yellow. Yellow is another debated color on whether the ancient Egyptians could distinguish the shade from red. And I am so confused. I'm pretty sure ancient Egyptians had eyes. I mean, I don't know what the author means here with these specific blurbs on color. However, if you want to invoke Sekhmet, if you want to meditate on Sekhmet, if you want to know Sekhmets history, this is gonna be a great book for you, as I honestly found it very enlightening and not all that confusing So as an intro book to Sekhmet, if you need that, this definitely 100% works. And another part that I'm gonna praise the author on, there is a page in this book dedicated to saying that modern pagans are trying to separate Sekhmet's bad qualities from her good ones, and that this kind of loss of quality shouldn't be celebrated because both bad and good qualities make up the whole entity, and the whole entity is better off with all of those qualities. And I fully agree. I've seen this happen with other entities, and in fact, I went up and hit up a person that normally works with Lilith, and we had a conversation about this work because the same happens with Lilith. People wanna cleanse the entity of all of their bad properties and just advertise it as all good because you don't want to admit that something that you like, also can spread plague and can also be wrathful because other people might judge you for it, or you might just not want to accept these qualities yourself. But that is not how development goes. You have to accept the bad with the good, and it's a lot better to look at the whole rather than just trying to say, oh, she's just a healing and fertility goddess, anything else here, because you're not doing anyone any favors. You're not doing your faith any favors. You're not doing the entity any favors. And you're not doing yourself any favors. So good job, author. This one, this specific book is actually a 5 out of 5 for me. It is while a short read, it is an interesting read because this is not a religion that I'm normally involved into, and it has soul. You can see that the person that wrote cared, and that is so incredibly rare. I have so many books here, and they're like the driest thing ever, and the person that wrote this actually cared. It's like I'm reading something that was made by an actual human being. And just like this video being blurry in comparison to every normal YouTube video on the history of YouTube, I prefer things that have a human touch rather than perfection, because perfection starts to look a bit weird, if you ask me. I suppose the word that I was looking for wasn't weird, it was actually uncanny. The next book that we're gonna be investigating, I am pretty sure majority of people won't actually find a use for it outside of me. And this is really bizarre, because I needed something like this, and there's absolutely no reason for anyone to write something like this just because of how absolutely chaotic it is. We're gonna look at the Little Daemon booklet. And yep, it's the word daimon and not demon, which refers to any spirit. In other words, the author went ahead and categorized all the spirits that they personally knew into a dictionary with just sparse couple of sentences definition next to it. Once again, a very odd thing to do, and definitely a very odd thing to have. But you see, I do deity reads, and I don't really differentiate between angels, demons, or deities. And when I do a read, and frankly, I don't know what pantheon I even want, I could do with a tool that would allow me to search and cite something a bit more concise than Wiki and Google, and this is actually helpful. I'm not shitting you, this is actually helpful. But I don't know, why would a regular person like a book so chaotic, where on one page you have Asmodeus in all his glory. On the other page, just before that, you have Aphrodite. Nor do I know anyone who would like a book where there is Loki, just one entry removed, away from Lucifer. Outside of me. This is a book for me. I am not entirely sure who else this is for, but this is very weirdly, incredibly useful. Remember that names have power. You don't actually need there to be a sigil for an entity. You need a name. To have a name and a small, concise definition, as well as, well, this book also tells you where it's from, so you can have like Latvian, Slavic, Abrahamic next to the entity. Sometimes you will also have a rank, in case the entity has a rank. This is just a list of names with definitions of really random entities. And you can't believe how much I appreciate this, because I can't believe how much I appreciate this, for this is entirely the energy of pure chaos. I don't know why they did this, but I'm glad that they did. That is all that I can say about this. And this is the one book that I'm gonna, interestingly enough, get the most use out of, because I am gonna be using it as a reference guide, while the other things are just kinda, well, that was an interesting read, let me just put it away. Moving on to the last thing, which is not copyright protected. It's a short guide to working with demons and other spirits. I'm gonna put the foreword, I'm gonna read it out loud because I do appreciate it. Or rather, I'm gonna read out the copyright bit. Any part of this booklet that is reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, including photocopying, recording, or by any information storage and retrieval system without permission from the copyright holder is absolutely fine. I love this. Knowledge such as this should be shared if there is value to be found therein. Simple credit is all that I would merely be asked, though this is not required. I am going to be stumbling through this and just reading bits and bobs for you, because I have actually made marks on this thing, as I have plenty of comments to say about it. I would not, out of all the books, this is the one that I would actually not necessarily recommend. I would put it honestly at 3 out of 5. It would work, but I have a feeling that if I wasn't me, if I didn't know what I knew, and I came in and I read this book, I would be paranoid as all hell. I find that parts of it just do not elaborate enough on what it's trying to convey, meaning that it might actually convey an atmosphere that is a lot more dangerous than what you would like to set up. You want people to be warned, you want people to know how to defend themselves, but you also don't want to just send people away from ever doing spiritual work, and I have a feeling that this book might. There are other sort of let's see, more, I don't know, careless blurbs that would have definitely been helpful if it has actually been expanded in depth. Not to mention that this book as a whole has 40 pages. And let me just show you how much of a blank page you have. So all the text is like fitting into the middle, like right there, and the rest of it is blank. So it's definitely a very, 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 very tiny thing. And it could be better. And when it's that tiny and it could be better, I can't exactly go, oh, I would actually rate this very positively, because I wouldn't actually be using this as a work to guide other people, and that's what it's for. So it doesn't serve its purpose. Let's start with the comments. Before doing anything, it is best to ensure that we are clean and bathed in fresh clothing in a clean environment as you can, and with very clear intentions. Not necessarily necessary. Good to have for your own state of mind. I don't think that the spirits are gonna judge how much you bathe. If I bathe before every single meditation session that I do, I might be bathing several times a day. And I don't think that that would be healthy for my skin, or a good idea to do. The dressing part, and you can do it naked. Some entities are completely fine with you being absolutely shameless. They're shameless themselves. Shame is very much a human thing. So, all depends. I did like a point that stated that there is no point in lying to a spirit, or yourself, on why you're deciding to pursue any spirit. Just know that they will be able to tell whether or not your intentions are truthful, and that is precisely the point. It's a very good idea. Setting the stage, the whole part of this is very good idea, as they state that you need to create a space where you will be left undisturbed for at least 30 minutes for your first attempts at communication with the infernal. It is important that nobody will pull you from your talk with the demonic. I agree. I don't always get that myself, because people can barge in on me at any point, but they don't really mind about what I'm doing. I kind of mind if I'm barged in on during a meditation session, but it's not that much of a big deal by now. But if you need that extra focus, you want nobody to barge in on you, you want that quiet time. Offerings or not section mentions the demons may request something in return, and I would like to add that it is up to you to agree. And if you do agree, do actually go through your part of the bargain. Otherwise, yeah, you don't want an otherwise. Just, if you state that you're gonna leave them out a bowl of water, then for God's sakes, leave them out a bowl of water. It's only fair. I mean, if you're making an agreement, you don't want to be the untrustworthy person in the business deal when you're making a business deal, so why would you do that to a spirit? It's just not a good idea. Entering the right mindset is also a good chapter. I find it interesting that they outline a meditation that they use in this as well. They also outline it in the Sekhmet book. And they state that one meditation I find useful is to close the eyes and imagine a clear space around you. Off to the distance there is a ring formed from smoke. The smoke is thin and white. See them coming closer, growing in size to a point that you can pass through them. Allow your body to go through and see the vast area around you once more. Repeat this process for another 10 minutes and do a body check. Do you feel more relaxed and comfortable, and has your breathing slowed? If so, we can proceed to meditative step 2. I dislike meditations that are breath-based because I can't do them myself. It irritates my whole body to try and do anything breath-based, as my anatomy is simply different out of all the back surgeries that it has gone through and limited space for my ribs to expand, especially considering that one side of my lungs would be more constricted than the other, meaning that anything breath-based interacts with me in a fairly bad manner. I have never heard of this meditation, so I do actually enjoy reading that part, for it is something that I could actually try if I needed to. Bit harder if you have no ability to visualize, and this book is very visual. If that is you, then this would probably be not a method for you. How will I know I've successfully established contact? Content? How do I know that I have successfully established content? YouTube, please. I don't know if my videos upload or not. Contact. Even if you feel nothing, continue with your line of contact. Explaining your reason for contact and introducing yourself as you normally would during a ritual. If you feel absolutely nothing, I would assume that the spirit is not there. Well, it is a good idea to continue as you have intended to continue. I wouldn't really expect the ritual to bring much. Be aware, however, of the potential danger of contacting your demon of choice. Do not call down a demon for the sake of calling upon them. I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. You don't want to mistreat the spirit and call them down as a party trick. But if you feel the need to reach out, you don't actually need a reason to do so. You can reach out and say hello and go, "Hi, I've been very pulled to you, mister. Can we establish contact and maybe work together? Maybe, and maybe communicate in dreams and stuff?" That is, obviously you wouldn't approach your spirituality with that tone, but that is an absolutely fine thing to do. And oftentimes when people do have those ties to a specific faith or entity, it does not make sense. It's not something to do with something that you need to improve in your life. Reaching out to say hello is absolutely a good idea. There is a whole chapter on demonic impersonation, which is to do with dealing with entity not being the entity that you were trying to contact. Protection methods might have been a better thing to outline. The fact that you can make a statement that only me and this very specific entity that I'm trying to contact is welcome in my space. Make a circle if the whole space is too big. Just make a circle. Nobody else is allowed. You can ask the entity that you're trying to contact to flash you their sigil to make sure that it is them. That works too. This just suggests that if you suspect that the entity that you reached isn't the entity that you were trying to reach, that you should close the communication, say goodbye, and then go into very intense cleansing of yourself. And honestly, anyone reading this chapter might already freak out a little bit when there is no need. You can take the extra precautions at the start. Beginning the ritual, dress appropriately is something that I have outlined. As I stated before, you can be nude. There's nobody out there that's sitting and considering whether or not you showed up in a frock or not. You might want to know about some entities, about what they consider respect and disrespect, as there are actually a couple that do not tolerate hoods or covered heads, for example, and will take that as a personal insult. But majority do not give a shit. I have not reached many that would actually get very upset based on how you're dressed. You can do it in your jammies, you can do it in your underwear, they're not gonna care. Honestly. Forming a bond. I am gonna give the writer props for this chapter, for they added this. It is also worthwhile to mention that some people may become consorts to a demon if they so desire. This is a controversial topic but needs to be recognized. The following is very important to consider prior to demonic contact. You may or may not consent to this position, and yet it may still happen. It's not exactly if they do so desire, if you haven't consented to this, is this. It is very rare for this to occur, so you do not necessarily need to be afraid. It is simply an odd occurrence. This position goes by different names, and it is up to the demon's discretion as to the specific title, but there are many who are currently a concubine or mistress to the infernal. It may be a temporary courting to serve a specific purpose, or may be an indefinite position bestowed upon the person communicating with the demon. they are in fact sexual entities, and I have a feeling that some pagan gods are too. That is something to definitely keep in mind. It's not exactly gonna hurt you, but it is definitely quite the experience if somebody decides that, the best position for you to be is to be their lover. I'm not gonna discuss this further, but this is probably the only book that I actually saw this mentioned in. And that is, yeah, that's pretty accurate and very nice for the author to bring it up. And I'm painting it now worse than it is. It's not assault. You're never gonna be assaulted, but you might end up asking, how do you see me? What is my position to you? And you might receive an answer that is effectively meaning of something along the lines of lover and just be left entirely stunned because that just does not track at the time that you're asking that question. But it will start tracking in the future, and that's how these things work. Selling your soul is quite the chapter here. And this is a odd one. Not because it's something that you can't do, it's because of the author's view of what happens to those that do it. Some demons will give the green light to this and likely absorb the soul of the exchanger to add to their own being. That is such a specific path. If you are to become one with an entity, that takes lifetimes to accomplish, and it's actually something that you work towards. It's not just gloop. That's definitely not how it works, and the people that walk that path are very, very specific people. Whether or not you have a soul contract plays very little part of this. Having a soul contract is a bit like going, yeah, you can be in charge of what I do with myself after I die. I trust you so much that I am completely unloading that responsibility onto you. And when you do that with a complete stranger, you can see why this is a very, very bad idea. When you do it with a spirit that you know very well, it is no different than doing it with a specific religion. For example, think of Christianity. Everyone goes, hey, when I die, I want to go to heaven because I want to give my agency to this big daddy in the sky as I followed his commandments and I want to live in his version of the paradise. How is it different? It is just a different entity that you go, yeah, I trust you. I want to be beside you. I want to be in your world. I'm pretty sure that whatever that is very, very nice. But when you do that to a complete stranger, they can do whatever they please. You might find yourself being an eternal janitor in their mansion, for example, and that's not something that you're aligned to do. But that is precisely the kind of amount of permission that you gave them. But it doesn't mean that you're gonna be absorbed into an entity. I want to stress that that is a very, very specific path. And when I find something like this written together with the descriptions of impersonators and parasites in this book, I just think that if I handed this booklet to somebody, they might just get really paranoid and run for their life. At the end, they have outlined some useful demons, and I have an issue with a single entry into this list. Belial. God damn it, I'm not gonna pronounce him because I can't pronounce him. Lord of the Worthless, he uplifts those who are downtrodden, need confidence, encouragement, and guidance. Teaches those on all manner of things, but a demon who will certainly humble you. Offerings are preferred when approaching this infernal spirit. If somebody doesn't have a particular pull to Belial and approaches me, I am not gonna recommend that they contact them unless they feel it in the gut that it's the right thing to do. Mainly because if you're living a nice cushy lifestyle or you're not that badly off, Belial might just decide that the best way for you to proceed through your life is to be humbled by being completely knocked off your horse, losing property, losing your family, ending up in a homeless shelter. It's the best way of appreciating all the good things in life is to know what is the bottom. But this is the one being that might actually decide that you should spend some time at the bottom in order to appreciate the top again. And it's not gonna be comfortable. It's not one of those spirits that I would recommend. It's kind of like how there are many that are pulled to Lilith, but working with Lilith is a bit like working with the void itself. That is destructive as all hell. You want to be very, very careful with that. The last note that I'm gonna add is that there's also Arobas in here. And my oh my, do I normally not receive anyone putting Arobas anywhere? Stolas is right next to it. Stolas doesn't appear often. So I appreciate that. I appreciate our shy entities that don't tend to get all that much screen time. So that is one plus for this book. But in reality, this is too small. And if I gave this to somebody who is completely new to this, they will either get scared or confused. If I was to give feedback on this one, I would say definitely expand on protection beforehand, perhaps explain visualization to people, give techniques for doing that. Stress that if they do have a soul contract, they're not just gonna be absorbed against their will. That's probably a good idea to do. And maybe put a bit of a warning against Belial that expands a bit further than just saying that you might be humbled. I mean, it's not wrong, but it doesn't exactly expand just how humbled you can actually get. So there's that. That has been my book reviews for 3 entirely different books. If you want any of these, they are present in the description of this video. I hope that you enjoyed staring at my face for 40 minutes straight, not even 14. I hope that you enjoyed my altar in the background, which is a bit better than a scratched green screen. You normally can't see that the green screen is scratched, but you can when I'm not using it. And I'm just filming a video with my webcam that's not meant to record these kind of videos. I'm not gonna be doing reviews often. I have another occult video ask, and I might make it into a video even though it's a bit insane. But about that, it's mostly making video game videos in here. But if anyone approaches me and goes, "Hey, check out what I made," and it's something that I'm actually pulled to and I don't see just another little influencer in the making or something dry or something that I'm plainly not interested in, then I will be like, heck yeah, I will check out what you made. And then I might actually make a video on it, but no promises. So, thank you for watching, and I hope I'm gonna see you the next time. Bye-bye.